Previously in part 1, we started building the base of our treasure chest and got the blockout ready. Now in part 2, we're moving forward and focusing on the lid. This is where the shape of the chest really begins to come alive. We'll work on defining its curve, adjusting proportions, and preparing it for details later on. Step by step, we're turning a simple blockout into something that feels more like a real treasure chest. So let's dive right in and start shaping the lid. Alright, picking up from yesterday's progress. Today I started by adding a new cylinder shape, adjusting its values and shaping it to fit as the lid of our treasure chest. It's a simple step, but this is where the chest really starts to take form, moving beyond just the base blockout we did earlier. Next, I worked on the metal part of the lid. For this, I duplicated the shape, adjusted it according to the reference, and began extruding wherever necessary. This part was a bit tricky, but it's fun because it adds that real sense of structure and design to the chest. And finally, once one side was complete, I just duplicated it over to the other side and aligned it properly. That saved me a lot of time and kept everything symmetrical. With this, the lid is really starting to look solid, and it feels rewarding to see the treasure chest evolve step by step. Moving on to the next step, I started working on the lock of the treasure chest. Since I'm still learning and my modeling is pretty basic right now, I decided to begin with a simple cube. From there, I scaled it down, adjusted the proportions, and slowly shaped it into something that looks like the front piece of a lock. At this stage, I'm not going too heavy on details, just keeping it clean and simple so I can understand the process better. For me, it's more about practicing the fundamentals, like moving vertices, extruding faces, and keeping the shapes balanced, rather than aiming for perfection. It's exciting because even with these small steps, the lock already gives the chest a more complete look. And as I keep practicing, I know I'll improve and be able to add more intricate details later on. For now, I'm happy with how this basic lock is coming together. For the last part of today's session, I started creating the side handles of the treasure chest. To begin with, I worked on the hinges by adding a basic cylinder and then adjusting its shape and position until it fit nicely on the side of the chest. This gave me a good starting point to build around. Once the hinges were in place, I moved on to the actual handle. For this, I decided to use a torus, basically a donut-shaped mesh. I scaled it down, rotated it, and adjusted the proportions so it could actually look like a handle attached to the hinge. It's still pretty basic, but I love how quickly the side details add character to the whole model. With each step, I'm learning how simple shapes like cylinders and torus meshes can be turned into something functional. And now, the treasure chest feels a lot more complete with those handles in place. Now that most of the modeling is in place, the next important step was to add some hard edges, so that when we smooth the model later, it still looks sharp and clean where it needs to. For this, I started by adding loop cuts and bevels on different parts of the chest. I showed 2 to 3 sections where I carefully added bevels, basically sharpening up the corners so they don't look too soft after subdivision. In some places, once the bevel was done, I duplicated the part and replaced it with the new version, making sure it aligned properly with the rest of the model. For the lid, I especially focused on the metal sections. Here, the bevel really made a difference. It gave those edges a nice solid definition, which makes the chest feel more realistic and sturdy. Then on the wooden parts, once the bevels were done, I added a subdivision surface modifier. This smoothed everything out and gave the wood a nice polished look, while still keeping the edges firm where needed. Even though this step is a bit more technical, it's really satisfying because the treasure chest instantly starts looking more refined and professional. For me as a beginner, it's a big learning moment. Understanding how important bevels and subdivisions are to get that balance between smooth surfaces and sharp edges.